All right. How's it going? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
All right. So we have Mr. Dave Vander Weide. He is the Florida Central District Ambassador for the USA Pickleball. And we'll kind of unpack what that really means here shortly. But thank you so much for jumping on a call today. So I definitely want to start out with, like, are you originally from Florida?
No, I'm actually from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And by the way, I'm there right now. We take the summer off from that heat and humidity, and we're enjoying life up here where it's a little bit cooler. Not a lot, but a little bit cooler.
Okay, good. And then, so how did you end up in Florida?
Well, back in the, let's see, early 80s, the economic climate in Michigan wasn't that good. And you just start getting involved, moving up in a company, they downsize or close it all together. Florida was hot, so we moved. We just made the move.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then did you settle in Orlando at first, or where was home first?
Orlando was home first, actually in the Apopka area. We moved into Winter Garden in 2005, but basically we raised the family in the Apopka area.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've been Winter Garden, and that's one of the things that that's where I first met you, was in Winter Garden, at the famous Veterans Memorial Park. So, and that was my honest to God, the first time that I was exposed to pickleball, because my first practice was in a COE, and I just kept having people come in, and they just kept talking about Winter Garden, and then and they kept talking about pickleball, and then I was like, I gotta figure out what this pickleball thing is about, and then I came across one of your Facebook groups. And I joined that group, and I was like, and then my wife and I went out there, and we got to meet you, and got to witness some of the great things you and your team have been able to get started with pickleball, not just there, but all over. But let's take a couple steps back. Like, how did you get started playing pickleball?
Well, it's a crazy story, but about 15 years ago, a high school classmate called me up, asked me to play pickleball. I had never, ever heard of that word before. I had no idea what it was. I should have Googled it or YouTubed or something, but I went up to the Villages cold. And I'm playing against three people that are in the 4-0 category. And here I come along. I've never had a paddle in my hand, nothing. And they just kicked my butt all over the place. But I came out of that going, there's some fun to this. I just need to work at it, practice a little bit, and then, find people to play. But that was the biggest problem. I couldn't find anybody else to play with in the greater Orlando area. There was really nobody playing pickleball. A few people, but nobody, basically.
Right. And then, so how did the culture start? I mean, because whenever I first witnessed it, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I call pickleball the next CrossFit, because I joke about, like, hey, how do you know if somebody plays pickleball or not? Just wait, because they're going to tell you. Between whenever you couldn't find anybody up until maybe 2 or 3 years ago, whenever I first met you, how did the evolution of pickleball come about?
Well, it's a 15-year story, so you got a couple hours, and we can go through all this.
I'm ready.
We'll give you the brief story, but basically, it started out in Stony Brook West. It's a Winter Garden community. It's gated. We have a hockey rink that nobody uses for hockey. So we actually ended up painting some pickleball lines on that. We had our first net was actually a swimming pool volleyball set. We would fill up these plastic bases with water, stretch the net. We didn't know any better. We didn't know there were actually portable nets available, but that's how we got started. And the town center where the workout area is not far away. So these people would hear us hitting that pickleball around, just two of us. It attracted attention. We started getting more people out there. Eventually, the HOA painted permanent lines, gave us semi-permanent courts, and that's really how we got started. And then, you'll love this, I heard that the city had painted pickleball lines over the tennis court at Veterans Park.
Okay.
So I walked into the rec office and I said, I noticed you put those lines out there. And I asked them, what was your intention? They all look at me and they go, well, we don't really know. We want to see what's going to happen. I kind of laughed inside because I knew nothing was going to happen if we just let it go. So I volunteered to teach a pickleball course on Monday mornings on one of the tennis courts. They put it in their newsletters and all that. And we started with a handful of people on one court 1 day a week. And then we started getting more. So we moved over to another tennis court. And before you knew it, we had all 4 of those tennis courts involved with pickleball. And at some point beyond that, the city came in and took away 2 tennis courts and gave us 6 pickleball courts.
Wow.
And now, as you know, we're up to 10.
Right.
And that's how it kind of got started. And again, it was more in the Winter Garden area. But then people heard about us. They started coming in from all over the place.
Right.
And then eventually we kept building it up and up and up. And then they started going back to wherever they lived and started introducing pickleball in other areas like Sanford, Katy Way in Winter Park, Barber Park down in South Orlando. And it just kept growing.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So I'm dubbing you a new title.
Oh no! People call me enough already. We don't need another one.
So I'm going to call you the Godfather of Orlando, Greater Orlando pickleball, and then you're no longer Dave Vander Weide. You're now Don.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, that's fine.
That's so good. That's so awesome. And then I mean, if people don't have any context of what the community over there is, and you know, I always invite people to just to go see it at least. You know, if they're in the area, just go out there and look at it. You know, I mean, whether they have time to play or not time to play, but just go out there and see the type of community and the culture around it. And a buddy of mine, David Sudharma, did a similar thing out in his community out in Lake Nona. And it's just this welcoming, inclusive community. You know, now, I mean, they only have 4 courts and they do the best that they can.
Well, yeah.
But it's become more, not just like, you know, a recreational sport, but it truly is one of those things where people just develop friendships. And, you know, and I really, truly believe this is one of the greatest things to happen in Orlando, and why I refer a lot of patients and a lot of people and friends to go play pickleball. And then so after, you know, all the things that you've been doing with Winter Garden, and then you at some point got involved with USA Pickleball. So first, what is USA Pickleball?
Okay, USA Pickleball is the governing body for pickleball. In the beginning stages of pickleball, they recognized that there needed to be some sort of management or control. That's where US Pickleball came into, and it was basically volunteers. Now, over the years, of course, it's gotten bigger, so now you have a number of paid staff involved with it. There's membership dues and things like that. They have sponsors and all that. They just had to go to that because it becomes overwhelming. But the core USA Pickleball was comprised of volunteers like myself and any other ambassador. We're all volunteers. We don't get paid or anything like that. We just have a love for the sport. We want to see it grow, and we want to see it done in the correct way. So you, of course, want to have some sort of structure and management involved with it. Right. So that's what USA Pickleball is. They're responsible for setting up the rules, testing equipment, a number of other things that are necessary in order to manage the growth of pickleball.
Right. Okay, that's so good. You know, and like a lot of times whenever people have a lot of different questions in the Orlando beginner pickleball, I try to divert them to, you know, I'll answer the question for them as best I can if I know the answer, but I always go back to the USA Pickleball website, you know, and they've just done such a great job of putting so much content out there, whether it's just going to be the basic rules, or if you want to get into the nitty gritty of like the official rules of pickleball, to, you know, tips and tricks. I mean, it's now the official pickleball app, you know, and with them working with pickleheads, you know, I mean, the website is just so much. And then I was able to join, you know, there is a membership, you know, and so like you how much, I mean, what are kind of some of the benefits of joining USA Pickleball?
Well, they have a number of perks, you know, discounts on rental cars, flights, restaurants, hotels, that type of thing, which is great. But when I talk to somebody about joining, they may say, what's in it for me? And I don't really look at it, well, what's in it for me? What I'm looking at is the fact that you're supporting an organization that is there to grow pickleball. And in my world, the amount of money to join is, it's not that much.
Nominal, yes.
But what you're doing is you're supporting what's going on now, but you're also supporting the future of pickleball. So in a way, I look at it as somewhat of a donation, but I think it's a very valuable donation. It's something that if you're going to play pickleball, you're enjoying a lot of benefits of just being out there playing. So why not help the organization that got you there in the first place? So that's really how I look at it.
And you know, I don't say this, you know, lightly, but you know, pickleball does save lives. And you know, this is going to be my next interview with one of my Las Vegas pickleball coaches, Darla Christensen, who she was one of the security people during the mass shooting in Las Vegas. And you know, so she had a lot of PTSD, and she didn't want to leave her home for over a year. And one of her neighbors was like, hey, we got to get you out of this house. You know, I mean, I know it's like something that really bad happened to you, but we really got to get you out of this house. And she'll tell her story, and we'll have it recorded and posted in the group where pickleball literally saved her life in regards to getting her out, socializing and stuff like that too, where now she has a great group now in pickleball, like over 5,000 people that are part of, and you know, and she's doing some great things. So, you know, I think that's, you know, I totally agree with you. And in regards to that, you know, pickleball does change lives. So.
You know, from a health standpoint, it's an easy way to get some exercise and have some fun while you're doing that. The other thing is the social aspect of it. And like you just talked about, we had a case with a veteran who started playing at Veterans Park. And my first encounter with him is, let's just say I thought I was going to get killed. Just so he just went off the deep end.
Right.
But we worked our way through that. And now he's not an official ambassador, but he is one of the greatest ambassadors, non-official ambassador that we have in the area. He's willing to work with anyone. So we have people that get into pickleball. It actually changes their lives in a positive way.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, as a doc that, you know, sees people with a lot of neck pain, back pain, headaches, and you know, and a lot of times when they come in and they're like thinking that I'm going to tell them to like, oh, I need you to bandage yourself all the way up with knee braces and back braces and neck braces and all this stuff. And actually, I want them to do the polar opposite, you know, and I'm trying to figure out different activities that I wanted them to get involved with. At the end of the day, they have to be inspired to do it. And it's been so almost a slam dunk for me. I know that's a different sport for you beginners out there, but you know, for me, I can just safely say like I'm happy to refer somebody that is a young person, you know, I mean 5 and up or whatever, you know, if they can hold a paddle in their hand and to like, you know, I believe out in Vegas, I think I saw, or no, maybe it was Hawaii. One of my other coaches out there, Steve Cole, he was teaching, I think it was an 89-year-old Hawaiian player, like a beginning, you know, I mean, that's amazing. What other sport out there, you know, can you have that wide range, you know? So
there really aren't many. No, this is one of few.
Right. And then, so how did you actually get started with USA Pickleball?
Well, you know, I was becoming before we go any further, let me just throw this out right now. And
100%.
we talked about this before we went on air, but we're talking about me and my accomplishments and, you know, all those type of things. It's really not me. I'm kind of a resource person, a catalyst. Through the years, there have been so many great people that are eager, that found the love for pickleball. They become ambassadors, or they've gone back to their communities and want to get things started. So again, I've been become that support person. I kind of guide people in what they're attempting to do. But none of this really has taken place without their help and their assistance. And I'll use the word team. It's a team. It's a huge team, and it's worked out extremely well.
Yeah, you know, and I would agree to that testament too, because you know, you kind of gave me you gave me a little bit of a taste of pickleball, and then, and then so I I blame you for all the things that I've been doing.
And yeah, look at what you're doing now. And then, over the course of literally months, once in a while, I'll call you or I'll talk to you, just provide a little guidance, kind of help you go in the right direction. That's really all I can do at this time. There's so much going on out there that I can't do it all by myself. We need people like you and all those other ambassadors out there,
Right. Yep.
getting things going.
And that's, and to me, that is a true leader. And because number one, leadership is a choice, and two, I feel like great leaders, just like yourself, create more leaders. So I really, really appreciate all of your help.
The way I look at it, I would love to teach everybody what I know, everything, so they can do it. So I don't have to. Yeah, you're right. That's what a leader will do. They enable people to go out there and get the job done. So back to the question about how did I get involved as an ambassador? Right. Well, I was starting to do these other things, starting to go to these other areas and help them get started. And my wife goes, well, you're doing all these things anyways. Why don't you just become an ambassador? And so I did.
Right.
And, that was good enough for me. But then it got to a point where the entire Central Florida area was covered out of Vero Beach.
Okay.
Quite a ways away.
Right.
And I saw the growth that was taking place in the Orlando area. So I went to USA Pickleball and asked them if they could give me basically the Orlando area, surrounding counties, and the ambassador over on the East Coast thought that was a great idea. So it was split. It became a smaller, but a much bigger area based on the number of people that we have playing. That's how I got to that point as far as the Florida Central District Ambassador. And it's just allowed me more than anything else. It's a title that when I go talk to a city or a county, oh, there's that title. So then they give me a little bit more play, so to speak. Sure. Whereas someone that just showed up with a paddle wants courts, they may not been received the same way. So that's helped me, and that's how I use it.
Yeah, and then I think that's gonna be great as well too. And and that's one of the things, one of my missions as well, and that'll be something that I work, continue to work with you as well as Karen as well, because we want to be able to build these communities, not only in just like maybe some nicer areas like in Celebration, but I would love as many courts as possible, because right now the demand is high, and if we can help that process go a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's not an easy process. It takes a lot of time to get courts.
So I started a Facebook group called Orlando Pickleball, just got on the Las Vegas group, and I asked the group yesterday to give me some of the questions that they have for you. So if you're ready, we're going to try to go through some of them right now.
Let's go for it.
Okay. So first we have Warren. Warren is, speaking of demand, what is the plan to keep up with the demand?
Warren, that's a great question. I do not have an answer, and let me explain why. I call it the early years. When I first became an ambassador, it was easy because it was a very slow, grinding type of growth. I literally had to prepare brochures, flyers, that type of thing before I went and talked to people, because no one knew what pickleball was. Well, that's changed. So now cities, counties come to me or other people, and we want to get started in pickleball. The demand, I kind of describe it as a tidal wave. No one's really prepared for that. No one can really brace themselves enough for that. So at this point, that's a tough question to answer. It's just getting more people involved with it from like you and other ambassadors, just getting them out there and help with the growth. The other thing that's somewhat complicating thing is that there's money involved with pickleball now. So before it was volunteers working with cities, other organizations, but now you have these private businesses that are talking about these grand pickleball palaces in a number of areas. I mean, we had this one proposal in Ocoee for like 44 courts, and I'm not sure where that's going. But that's what's happening. I know there's other smaller, maybe 10 to 12 inside courts that are trying to get started in the area. So it's really hard to manage the growth when you have all these private companies coming in. I can't really go and talk to them because they have their own plan and they're going to do things their own way. I can work with cities, public courts, and help them get started. Really, I don't have a good answer for it right now and how we're going to do that. But I would say getting more people involved. You got involved, Aaron. He's becoming an ambassador. So we need newer, more, and younger blood getting into this. I'm not joking. That's very important. We need the sport's changed so much. It's become so much of a younger sport, and we need that face as far as people that organize it, manage it, and get involved with it from that standpoint.
Right.
So I'm kind of dancing around Warren's questions, but I don't really have a good answer for it.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into the next question, where let me just go back up here, and it'll be kind of a twofold, where Gene is asking, is there a website where pickleball players can see where they can play, right? Because and the way that I'm kind of like dissect that question out for you is that I want you to kind of explain a little bit more the differences between that private versus public, or recreational play, because I don't think people realize that there's a different dynamic between.
Oh, tremendously. Okay, let's start out with what I'm most accustomed with, and that's public courts.
Right.
Well, okay, more and more cities are building public courts. They put their rules out there, and unless they have somebody out there enforcing them, you can pretty much do what you want now. And I'll use Winter Garden as for many examples, but we've established quite a culture out there. Most people understand that. When new players come in that don't, we try to work with them, and some just don't really understand that, they don't get it, and they might become a little discouraged, and they might move on somewhere else. But we try to maintain the culture that we've developed. We have to work within the guidelines of the city, whatever they want. And basically their message is, we want everybody welcome. We want everybody to have the opportunity to play. We can't really dissect it to where you have some courts set aside for, say, challenge courts, upper level courts. The best we can do is that we have 5 courts set up for advanced play or competitive play, and then we have 5 that are recreational. That's about the best we can do. The city's okay with that, but we really can't go much beyond that. But the key is that it's public, everybody's welcome, and you can't tell other people what they can do and what they can't do. You hope they follow your guidelines. Now, if you go to private indoor facilities, basically like Clear One or ORS, well, they can set the rules. They can basically set it up any way they want. If they want to have certain nights for the advanced players, they want to have a couple courts just for challenge. If you want to have a night just for beginners, if you want to reserve courts, you can do all that. But of course, people are paying to do that, and some like that because then they get their opportunities to play the way they want to with the people they want to. Then you have the mix. Good example is what just came up in Winter Springs with when I forget the name of them, but they got the 14 courts or whatever. You can reserve courts. I think there's a fee for that, but it's a combination of public and private courts. And I haven't been up there yet, so I don't really know how they operate. But basically the differences between private, where you pay, and public is control.
Right. Yeah, and then if you're just kind of joining in and stuff like that now, and you're new to it, but RRS is Orlando Racket Sports, off of OBT, and it kind of going on a little bit more too, where someone was kind of explaining to me where sometimes the personalities of each court or each venue or each area is a little bit different, because you have somebody that may be working full-time, working 9 to 5, and he or she's got like kids, and they have this one opportunity, this short window to be able to play.
Yep.
And that's their stress release. That's how they, deal with life, so to speak. And then you may have a completely different dynamic where you may have someone that's brand new that doesn't even know how to, swing a paddle or anything like that too. So yeah, I always recommend that, just like what Gene was trying to figure out, like, trying to figure out those different social dynamics of it. And once again, we're not really kind of answering the question, but right now it's just kind of the wild, wild west when it comes to different apps. There's, different people are taking pictures of the signage. I mean, you kind of have to, like, it reminds me of the old nightclub days, when you when you didn't have this online booking system or whatever it is. And, like you had to know a guy to get you in or something like that. But I think but to answer Gene's question, what you'll find, and maybe this is just my personality, is if you just go out there, and that's why I wanted to create that beginner group where you can ask. I mean, chances are there's going to be somebody that knows something about it, or they're going to go play over there and then just ask them to take a picture or maybe explain the social dynamics of that court. And then Gene will find you somewhere to play, and we'll get you a good community to get started with. All right. So the next question is from Chris Parker. How do you think pickleball can be made more accessible and inclusive for people of all ages and skill levels?
Get more courts. That would be my answer. So you can, well, I'm joking about that, but that would help a lot, because right now all ages want to play, all skills want to play, and you get jammed up on courts, and it's a struggle. It becomes a conflict. I don't know. Again, I think, if you're able to get more courts, or in some places where they can have like one night for beginners or advanced players, that might help. You can't really do that on public courts.
Right.
Well, the other thing is, in a way, pickleball is kind of built to accommodate everybody, just with the way the game's played, with some of the rules on serving and all that, and you're trying to dink. That eliminates a lot of the offensive shots. So a lot of different age groups can play together.
Right.
Skill levels might be a little bit different because they vary so much. So it can be frustrating if you're out there, you got some really good players and you get some new players out there on the same court. That's a struggle.
Right.
Winter Garden might be one of the best solutions, where we have the 5 recreational, the 5 competitive. People can make choices. But again, we still don't have enough courts out there. It's just, it would be helpful if we had more.
Yeah, Aaron is supposed to teach me how to tape up some pickleball lines, something like that too. So,
really?
Maybe maybe what we'll do is when it cools down out here in Florida, we can start taping up some parking lots, because I probably watch way too much pickleball YouTube. So
that doesn't surprise me.
and I was watching these guys just play out in this massive parking lot, and it was in Southern California, and like there was this parking lot, the asphalt was cracked, and then it was like it was being filled with whatever the tar, but it was a packed parking lot, and people like, hey, they were there for not just to play pickleball, but they were there for the community. So,
well, if you really want to play, people will lower their standards. They'll play just about anywhere. I've been to all those places.
All right. So Cesar has a question. He's hey, I want to give a shout out to Cesar. He literally learned how to play last Wednesday.
Oh, really?
So I taught him how to play, or helped him teach him how to play, and along with Aaron and Coach Aaron, and man, he's on fire for pickleball. So now he's interested to like how to get more involved and contribute to the growth somehow. So if somebody is like just very interested in pickleball and seeing the value and impact it has on a community, I'm more specifically probably where he lives. What's the best way for him to contribute and volunteer?
Well, I read his question. I think it was twofold. Part of it was get involved with pickleball. Did I read that right?
Yeah, and then he also had like, are there more plans for more courts? And if so, yeah.
Let me address that. The only ones I really know of right now is in Ocoee. they're planning on putting 6 more courts. It's not to do with that 44 unit complex. I don't know if that's just a very aggressive. So I don't know if that will really take place. But I had talked to the rec department over at Ocoee. They're planning on putting 6 new courts in. That will help out. But those are the only ones that I'm really aware of at this point. What I see happening is more private facilities. There's companies coming into the area that are going to build a warehouse or take over some storefront and put pickleball courts in. I see that as the next opportunity. I will mention this. If anyone in your group sees a need for courts in an area, it's a good way to get started to reach out to you, maybe reach out to me and see if we can go talk to somebody about courts. It's a very slow process. For example, 5 years ago, myself and Kim Drury, we went to Orange County Parks and Rec. We had a plan for courts. And what we have done, not only the 2 of us, but others, we've strategized about this. And basically, in the early days, what we did, we said, okay, we got this huge Orlando area. Where are our biggest needs? So basically what we wanted to do was north, south, east, and west. Get the outside areas first and then start filling in. And that's what's happening now. We got Katy Way, downtown Orlando, basically. Sanford, Downey Park is now on the east side. That's been a tremendous help. And of course, Winter Garden on the west side. So now we're starting to fill in those other areas. We got Dover Shores and a few others. But at this point, there's probably other areas where the demand for pickleball could serve a certain community or area. We just don't know what they are. And we'd love to get involved and work the process, but it's a long process. Again, Downey Park, 5 years it took. So I would encourage people, if you see a hotbed of pickleball somewhere, or there's a group that they all live in the same area, maybe we can find a city park or a county park that could incorporate pickleball. Orlando is working on some. There's a possibility with the old Ben White Raceway, 441 and John Young. There's some plans to put courts there. That's down the road a little bit. Again, it's going to be a period of time, but that would be huge if something like that would take place.
And I keep on joking about this, but I want to maybe one of these days head over to West Oaks Mall. I heard Pickle Mall out in Arizona had lost their lease, so maybe that'll be one.
Yeah, of I've been there too. What I would love to see happen is that Dillard's has that. It's not really a true store anymore. I'd love to see them move everything out because it's 2-story, but the ceilings are high enough where you could, and that would be a good use for it at this point.
Yeah. All right. So now my last question for you is from my own question is, what is your greatest pickleball tip someone gave you?
I'm going to give you maybe 2 or 3. Okay. But the first one is for beginners. The first time I played, I was just getting beat up all over the place. I had no idea that the kitchen was a frustration to me. I think I ended up in it 9 times, one game. But she turned to me and she goes, "Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out. The more you play, all these things become very basic. You do them without even thinking about it. You stay outside the kitchen line. You start moving around when the ball goes over the side to a certain area. All these things start to come together." So I would encourage new players, don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated by your initial time on the court. We all went through it. We all survived, but you just gotta go through the pain in order to get to the point where you really enjoy the sport and it becomes something that's relatively simple for you to go out and play. That would be one. The other one is more of what I've learned over the years is that you want everybody to feel good about their experience when they come out and play. If they're good players, beginners, or whatever, you got to work with them. Or that's wrong. I shouldn't say you want to work with them because you don't know how they're going to develop. We have some classic examples in Winter Garden where I pulled a couple people on the court that were watching or looking. They ended up becoming pro players or high-level players. You never know. Most of them just get to a point where they're out there having a ball, they're smiling, they're laughing. There's a lot of beauty in seeing that happen also. So those would be a couple words of advice that I would throw out there. And I would also say that no matter how good you are, you should still be able to spend some time passing the love of the sport on to other people that are just getting started.
Right. Yep. You know, and I agree with that too, because, you know, a lot of times people, I tell people all the time, I'm still a beginner.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like fake certificate.
I still feel that way sometimes.
I'm still a beginner. So, you know, and whenever people are very appreciative of some of the things that I've been able to share with them, which is what somebody had just shared with me, I'm just regurgitating things that what shared with me. I just ask them like, hey, just be nice to somebody else and teach them how to play, you know, and, you know, just the golden rule. And I think that's going to be great words to live by, and that's the, you know, the type of culture that we want to create in our group as well too. So thank you so much for your time. I think people are going to just absolutely love this. And
well, I hope they see that I'm very enthusiastic about it. It's been a tremendous benefit for me. I put a lot of work into this, but on the other end of it, I met so many people. I've had so many great experiences, gone on all these crazy fun pickleball trips, and you know, it's just become a way of life. And I see that with so many other people also, and I think that's why people are attracted to it. You know, when I first got started, USA Pickleball talked about 2.1 million people playing. That kept moving up a little bit at a time until about 4 years ago. Then that number started jumping like crazy, and now I think the number is 13.5 million.
Wow.
And I don't really see a ceiling. I just think with what's going on everywhere, with so many young people getting involved with it, schools getting involved with it. I'm actually when I'm up here in Michigan, the college I graduated from, I'm working with them on trying to build a complex, and someday we hope it to be a varsity sport.
Oh, wow.
But again, remember what I said about 5 years? That's probably about how long it's going to take to get to that point. But I don't care. I got time.
Right. That's so good. So, you know, Dave is very accessible on Facebook, or, you know, I'll put his contact information in the show notes.
Yeah.
Like I do. So he's always been a resource to me. He can be a resource to you, and we'll be interviewing more USA Pickleball ambassadors so that you can put the faces to all these awesome names. And, you know, who knows, maybe you'll see him out on the courts out in the Winter Garden too.
Or maybe somewhere else. I still got to get over to Downey Park and just see that, and also the Winter Springs area. That interests me. So we'll see.
All right.
For now, I'm going to stay up in Michigan where it's a little cooler.
That's so great. Well, thanks again for your time, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. This was fun.
Yep.